Hi, I'm Drew.
I'm Harley.
I'm Nancy, and we're the Bound in Book podcast. You can expect a fun time, some curse words, and a lot of discussion. Our episodes will both feature guests and be conversations between the three of us.
We do intend to stay spoiler-free for the majority of our shows. Our guest episodes will feature a spoiler section towards the end. We are here to be an author, reader, and industry at large safe space to discuss books, opinions, and feelings. But we are going to keep it positive.
We want listeners to know that we are not here to bash your favorite stories or authors, but may discuss things we didn't like too. And we hope you join our discussion over on social media and enjoy the episode. Hey guys, Harley here. I just wanted to insert an editor's note at the beginning. A few things about our first episode. We had a couple of technical issues. My mic was malfunctioning, so I sound a little muffled the whole time. Drew had to switch mics in the middle of recording, so some of her audio towards the end is a little bit garbled, but I believe we have since fixed those issues, so they shouldn't be an issue outside of this initial drop of a couple episodes. The second thing is that there are spoilers for a couple of series. We discussed Twilight, specifically spoilers for Breaking Dawn, A Court of Thorns and Roses, specifically A Court of Mist and Fury, and A Court of Silver Flames, and the entirety of the Cruel Prince trilogy, so just be aware that there may be light spoilers for those series while you're listening.
Hi, I'm Harley, and I've been a fantasy reader since I was a kid, starting with, like a lot of people my age, The Chronicles of Narnia and Harry Potter. I took a long break from reading during and after college, and then came back again, like a lot of people my age, when I discovered From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout and A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I currently live in Texas, in Central Texas, with my partner Josiah and our dogs. I host another podcast called the Ranch Collective Podcast, which is an educational agriculture-based show, and you can find it anywhere you find podcasts if you're inclined to listen. I'm also interested in wine, coffee, and graphic design. I make stickers and pins under the name Polish Company, which is also the name of the photography company Josiah and I co-own. And lastly, I am a virtual personal assistant for authors and other creatives under the name PA Harley. I read primarily fantasy and fantasy romance, but I also love horror and a sprinkle of the occasional dark romance. My favorite tropes are, I guess we're going to get into favorite tropes later. I guess I'll read them now. We'll talk more about it. My favorite tropes are who did this to you, and any variation of that, and enemies to lovers, and any oppositional variation of that, like rivals to lovers, etc.
Hi, I'm Drew. I've been an avid reader since childhood. I always loved fantasy and will always remember one of my first intros to fantasy being the Inkheart trilogy. Like a lot of us childhood readers, I stopped reading in college and just had a really hard time transitioning from YA to adult fiction that wasn't just contemporary fiction. During quarantine in 2020, I started to read again and picked up horror and dystopia sci-fi-esque novels, but it was so hard finding adult fantasy because I didn't really know what I was looking for. Fast forward to 2023, and I finally picked up A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas for the first time, and it really reminded me about my love for fantasy, and I haven't stopped ever since. Realizing there was a whole genre of specifically adult fantasy made me wish I had gotten back into reading this genre sooner, and so I started my Bookstagram to share my love of reading and also to meet people who were just as crazy about books as I am. I currently live in Southern California, but I'll be moving to Nevada with my partner and our 3 pets soon. Some of my other hobbies include crocheting, sewing, any and all DIYs, cooking and baking on occasion, and of course, lurking on author discords. My favorite genres right now are fantasy, romantasy, dark romance, hockey romance, and alien romance, of course.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and I've been a reader pretty much my whole life, having grown up in a family of readers. I also was first introduced to the fantasy genre with The Chronicles of Narnia, but my absolute favorites growing up were the Artemis Fowl series and the Percy Jackson series. I fell away from reading in college, but towards the end of my time in college, I picked up a book that my friend wrote and started reading it, and then from there was blowing through books left and right. And a good friend of mine told me I should pick up ACOTAR, and that was my introduction to romantasy and adult fantasy in general. I started my Bookstagram around that time as well, and that was last year, April of 2023. I currently live in southern Louisiana with my family. I work in sales and management full-time, but when I'm not doing that or reading, I can often be found writing. I'm currently working on my first fantasy novel, which is a Norse mythology retelling that tells the story of Loki and Sigyn, which I plan to self-publish someday. I also enjoy baking on occasion, singing, watching shows and movies with my boyfriend Scott, and of course hanging out on Booksta and in bookish discords. And I love anything and all things Loki related as well. Fantasy is my favorite genre, including pretty much all subgenres, but I also dabble a bit in contemporary romance, and I occasionally venture outside that bubble and will sometimes pick up the occasional sci-fi, dystopian, or thriller, though it has been a while since I've done that.
You know what's
Yeah.
so crazy is that we all like started our Bookstagrams around the same time.
Oh my God. Wait, like 2023?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nancy and I
Me
started
and-
ours the same month.
In April?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God, I love that. I think I started mine in October of last year, something like that.
Were you on Discord before that or no?
I wasn't on any author discords. I was like, I would use Discord to like hang out with my friends and like play video games and stuff. So like I was like on video game Discord. And then like one day, I think it was Tay. I like looked up Tay because like I was obsessed with Threaded. And I was like, and I saw she had a Discord and I was like, is this a thing? And like I was scared. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared, so I didn't join it. But then I read Penn's series, and then I saw she also had a Discord, and I was like, oh my God, okay. I keep seeing this. I guess I'll join it. Like I'm gonna be brave and I'm gonna join. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I was like, oh, there's actually cool people, and it's not like a bunch of weirdos. Like video game discords are like filled with like a bunch of like weird boys, obviously.
It's
I was like,
it's so
wow.
funny how full like the author discords that we frequent. There's like only like 2 boys in it. It's all women.
Yeah.
There's Kyle.
God bless Kyle. I hope you know what I hope he listens when we post this and he's like, hey, that's me. Oh, I feel like we should also tell the people, the listeners, although right now it's probably just everyone who hangs out with us in Discord. You mentioned 2 authors when you were talking about being involved with Discord, but you only said their first names.
Oh
So,
yeah.
you want to tell everyone who they are for realsies?
Yeah, for realsies. So, okay, the first author is Tay Rose, the author of Threaded, and the second author is Penn Cole, the author of the Spark of the Everflame, the Kindred's Curse saga series. Saga series? The Kindred's Curse saga?
I think it's
the
a saga.
Kindred's Curse. Holy
I think
crap!
It's just saga.
Please edit me.
No, I'm gonna leave that. That's great.
Oh my God, it's just saga. How embarrassing.
Yeah, so we met on Discord. I actually came in through Nicole's Discord, and I think her last name is pronounced Platania, but I don't know. I'm so sorry, Nicole, if I'm butchering the hell out of that. I met her on the gram. She was posting something about about her books and something that Amazon was changing. And I asked her what the best place to buy her books was, and then immediately went and bought them. 1, they'd been on my TBR for a while, but 2, because she was also just like really nice when I asked her a bunch of questions. And so I joined Discord from there. I'd never even used Discord before that. But I joined Discord from there, and then Tay Rose is also in Nicole's Discord. I mentioned that she had a book, and so I was like, oh, more author friends, more books, love, 10 out of 10. And so I wound up involved in, I think I'm in like 10 author Discords now.
And my introduction was also Tay's Discord. I'd been following Tay for a bit on Instagram. And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember why I joined when I did, because I hadn't read Threaded yet. But Tay posted something, and I don't remember what it was exactly, but she said that it was, spoiler free for people who hadn't read it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to join, see what it's all about, and then, fast forward to a bit of server hopping, and now I'm in all of those authors' Discords as well. And obviously I've read Threaded now, and I spend way too much time on Discord, but I wouldn't change that.
We're currently recording on Discord. We just all are like chronically on Discord.
Pretty
I mean,
much.
truly.
I
My boyfriend's
was
always like, "What are you doing? Who are you talking to?"
same. But before I started my Bookstagram, one of my other favorite indie authors, Murray Good, she wrote The Realm of Oblivion and The Burns We Carry. She started a writer's Discord, and I was like dabbling in creative writing, not really doing it as seriously as I am now. But I was like, you know what, I'll join, and I was chatting with people there, and then I decided from there to make a Bookstagram. So, Discord started it all for me, I guess.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I started my Bookstagram because I was keeping my reviews in just like a journal for me with my own opinions, right? And then I decided that I thought other people would actually want to read them. And so I started my Bookstagram, and I mean, it's been great, but I'm like thinking back and I'm like, that was like really Leo behavior, honestly.
I feel like, okay, no, I started my Bookstagram because I was on my regular Instagram a lot and like looking at Bookstagram stuff, but I kept getting like influencer reels on my Instagram, and I was sick of it, and I wanted a more tailored like For You page or whatever. And so I was like, I'm just gonna make a Bookstagram, and like fully intending for no one to ever follow me. And then here we are. I think like because of all the Discords I have, like a couple hundred followers of like people, I'm like, oh my god, all these people, like they look at the stuff I post. This is insane. And like I know a lot of these people too. Like even though I don't know them in person, I know who they are from Discord or from Instagram. So it's really cute, the community of most Bookstagram people.
I feel like the three of us have like this really great mutual community who's in all of these author Discords, and we will, for the people, we will list the Discords and the authors before we sign off, so that way if you want to come hang out with us and be a part of this great community, you totally can, and also read their books. But we have this like really great core group of people who are in like all of the Discords, and who you see their name pop up and you immediately know who it is. And it's been so wonderful to like find these friendships.
And we're all, well, not all, but a good amount of us are going to Romanticycon next year. So we'll get to meet each other. And like even if we're not going to the cons, it's like a lot of people make the time to like meet up with each other outside of Discord and just like go to the bookstore, like hang out, and it's really cute. It's hard to make friends as adults, so it's really nice that we've all been able to kind of meet from this one shared hobby.
Yeah, I didn't realize how much I was really, really missing close, tight-knit female friendships in my life. Like I thought a couple of really good girlfriends here. But I didn't realize like how much I was really missing like that community of close female friendships until I was like on Discord and like making the friendships.
No, yeah, me too. And like we talk about really intimate things with each other. Like it's not just like, oh, what book are you guys reading? It's like, so tell me about your childhood trauma and how we relate in that way. And what have you been doing to help yourself grow as a human being?
And not, I mean, it's not just like all like big, deep, serious conversations. Like we've got lots of penis drawings. Um, a lot of them.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, it's just been so nice. And it's nice to have such a diverse community, I think, too, because there's a lot of people on several of the discords where I'm like, we wouldn't have met up or been friends besides the fact that this really wonderful book community exists to connect us.
Definitely. And a lot of different ages. We have our little baby Nancy here with us. I think you are one of the babies of the Discord, right? Like you're
Pretty sure I am. There might be someone younger than me and they're just not active, but as far as I know, I'm the youngest.
Her
I
name
swear.
and one of them is just the cousin and little sister.
I swear we had a 19-year-old. Maybe not. I could have been imagining that.
Maybe
I think,
somewhere.
and then yeah, Drew, you said are you turning 30 this year?
I'm turning 27 this year.
Why the fuck did I think you turning
I don't know. I mean, I'm really hoping by the time I turn 30, it'll feel like I'm an adult.
30? It doesn't. Just so we're clear, I turned 31 later this year. Our birthdays are like a week apart, I think, or 2 weeks apart or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But, I turned 31 this year and I'm not an adult yet. So
That's both comforting and horrifying slightly, but the reason I want to turn 30 is so that I can finally be 30, flirty, and thriving. Because right now I'm 20 and depressed and broke.
That.
well, I'm not depressed anymore. Okay, I think I like oh, maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe I'll cut it. Who knows? I feel like I grew out of a lot of my depression. Like a lot of the things that felt so crazy detrimental or whatever. It's just like it's another Tuesday now, but also like I just don't feel as deeply as I used to. Like when I had like more depressive episodes, I felt like I had really, really high highs, but then really, really like low driving over the edge of a cliff lows. And now I just feel very neutral about a lot of things.
Really shouldn't say I'm depressed because, yeah, I'm definitely not. Like when I was in high school, like early college, it was a different story. But I think I need to we can cut all this. I need to go to a therapist and get diagnosed because I really genuinely think I have autism and or ADHD because just a lot of things from my childhood are lining up and it's making sense and it's like weird being an adult in this world and not having I don't know, just like not having that diagnosis or like sense of like, okay, like is it my brain? Like is something wrong with my brain? Or is it just like is this just like how the world is for everybody?
Really need to do the same because like in college, a couple really close friends of mine who are ADHD and or autistic, they were both like, Nancy, you definitely have ADHD, and they pointed out some of the symptoms of it, and I was like, okay, maybe I do, but I've just been too lazy to go get diagnosed.
It's also expensive. Like therapists are expensive.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it because the more that I sit with this, the more I'm like noticing those traits in other people. So I'm like, my little sister is 12 and I've looked at her and been like, she probably is also ADHD. And I know how much like I've struggled because of just like stuff my parents do, and the fact that I'm fairly certain my brain works differently, and they don't necessarily get that. So I'm like, well, maybe if I get diagnosed, that'll get them to get her diagnosed, and that'll make things better for her. But I don't know if it would actually. But yeah.
Helps sometimes, like hearing it from a doctor, as opposed
Yeah.
to like your other child just being like, hey, stop that. But I worked with kids on the spectrum for most of college and then like out of college as well. And it was just crazy. Part of the reason I left that field was like I related so much to the kids I was working with and like their quote unquote like negative behaviors. And sometimes it was just things like they just talked about the thing that they were excited about for too long. And then like I had to like tell them to stop talking about the thing that they were excited about. And I was like, this was me as a child. And I hate that. I'm like, and people just let me keep talking. I'm just gonna let you keep talking. Like you enjoy yourself, kiddo.
For a long time, I just like didn't talk about the things that I really liked because I remember being a kid and being like, no one cares about that. Nobody wants to hear you talk about that. Like I remember being told that, and not by my parents, but by other people.
Mm.
And or being like told like, oh yeah, you talk a lot. You never stop talking. You never shut up. Like things like that. So I just like stopped talking about the things I did for a long time.
That's actually why I was such a quiet kid growing up. That and the fact that I was always reading, but but like I didn't have, people to get excited with about books, so I didn't really talk that much. Like when I got close with people, I would talk a lot more, but I was extremely quiet as a kid. But now if you get me talking about any of my like hyperfixations, I will not shut up for a while. My district manager and I, like, we have a pretty close relationship, and so we'll chat for a bit about like personal life stuff. And he knows I'm writing a book. I am fairly certain he will never read it, just because he's not a reader. But he'll ask me genuinely, like, how's the book going, and we will get track to talk about because he asked me that question and he lets me talk. And like last time he did that, he was like, okay, I need to, next time I ask that question, I need to set like a timer so that we don't get off track again because we have things to do. But it's definitely fun having people that get you and let you talk about the things you're excited about, which is another reason I love this community so much.
Nice thing about a lot of the discords I think that we're a part of is there's a lot of neurodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
So people understand each other in a different way. And then also typing online is a lot easier for people that are like neurospicy because it's like you don't have to look at someone in the eyes. You don't have like all the different like social aspects that can be daunting for a lot of people. And it's like you just literally can talk to someone. And then if you feel like you're done with the conversation, you don't even have to say goodbye. You just stop typing and it just keeps going. It just keeps going without you, and it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And it's also nice you can kind of like check in and check out and then come back later and just like pop in and out of conversations. It's very, I don't know, it feels like there's always a party going on, but like a chill party.
Mhm. That's a good way to put it. It's like a house party where there's all these different rooms, and if you feel like going to a different room and seeing what's happening, it's like you can just pop in, say hi, see what's happening, go into another room, see what they're doing over there. Sometimes you start getting like a bunch of notifications and you're like, oh, something's happening in the living room. I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, pretty much. So I know we mentioned a few times in this episode the Coven authors. Do we want to share with people who the Coven authors are?
Yeah, definitely. So, our first Coven author I want to mention is Penn Cole. She wrote the Kindred's Curse saga. Book 1 is Spark of the Everflame. Book 2 is Glow of the Everflame, and book 3 is Heat of the Everflame. Currently, the fourth book is due to release on June 1st, and it's called Burn of the Everflame.
The next one is Emilia Jae. She is currently writing the Forbidden Air trilogy. So the first one is The Dagger and the Forbidden Air. The second is The Crown of Fire Explained. And the last one that comes out in September, I believe she said the release date is September 5th, is A Throne of Wounds and Embers.
And then next is Tay Rose. She's the author of the Solstice Cycle series. The first book is called Threaded, and book 2 is called Scourged, and it releases September 18th.
The next author is Kara Douglas. She's writing the Unraveled Fate series. Book 1 is Lunaria. Book 2, Illuminance, just came out. And we have a novella from her coming out next called Undying Lands.
I'm so excited for Undying Lands. It's
Oh
going
my
to be so
god.
good.
I know.
I mean, I'm excited about for everything that's coming out, but it's going to be so fun.
This one's
Then
just different because it's it goes back in time, so that's fun.
I'm excited. The next is Sheila Masterson, who has the Lost God series, and it's 4 books: The Lost God, The Memory Curse, and The Storm King, which are all out. And then The Godless Kingdom will be out on June 3rd. So in a month from today, when this episode drops, not when we're recording.
Our next author is Helen Scheuerer. She's written a few series, but the most recent one is the Legends of Thesmar. She has a few books out already: Blood and Steel, Vows and Ruins, Fate and Furies, and an associated novella, Slaying the Shadow Prince. Helen recommends reading Slaying the Shadow Prince after Blood and Steel. And then she just released that book 4 is going to be coming out June 20th, and it's called Shadow and Storms.
Is that how you say her last name?
That is what I found out. Yes.
I'm looking at how it's spelled, and I would have butchered that. So good job, Drew.
Thank you, thank you. I tried. I listened to this other podcaster that was talking to her, and he said her name multiple times that way. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take you at your word, sir.
So if Helen or Anne is listening to this, please DM us the appropriate pronunciation if that's wrong.
Please, please.
And next we have V.B. Lacey, who is writing or has written the Elementals of Iona duology. Book 1 is Long Live, and by the time this episode drops, book 2, Forever Rain, will already be out as well.
And then last but not least is Nicole Platania. And Nicole, I'm so sorry if that is not how you say necessarily about it. And she is in the middle of writing the Curse of Ophelia series. The first 3 books are out: The Curse of Ophelia, The Shards of Ophelia, and Trials of Ophelia. She's got a novella that is coming out before book 4, and then book 4 and book 5. Oh my gosh, you guys, the other day I was talking to somebody about Sheila's 4th book about the Godless Kingdom, and I talked about when it was coming out, in June. And I knew that I wasn't sure what had been publicly shared, but I was talking to somebody on Instagram about it. And I was like, oh no, I was talking to somebody in Kara's Discord about it. And I was like, oh yeah, it's coming the very beginning of June, I think on the 3rd. And then someone's like, oh, I didn't know she'd announced it. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, what have I done?
I hate that feeling.
I went and I looked, and she had announced it 2 days
Oh,
before that.
okay.
I was
That's
like,
good.
I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, she would have been really disappointed. I don't think anything would have happened. I think she would have just been pissed. Rightfully so.
That is my biggest fear, is that I'll accidentally forget that something that I know is something that hasn't been publicly shared yet. But also I'm very forgetful, so I feel like I'll just forget that I have that knowledge until it's announced. Fingers crossed that's what happens, because I don't want to accidentally spill anyone's secrets. Because I know, me, being a writer, I know I would be pretty upset if someone spilled those. I'm most likely to spill those secrets on accident for my own book, I feel like.
I think for
But-
me, it would really just depend on the context in which it was spilled. Like if it was just like you thought something was public and it wasn't, or like with the thing with Sheila, like I thought that was public information.
Yeah.
When I shared it.
Mhm.
I wasn't like sharing it because like, hey guys, you want to hear a secret I have? Here's a secret.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Yeah,
public information and like, oh yikes.
Yeah, as the author, I definitely wouldn't be mad. I would just be a little bit disappointed.
Oh my god, that's even
but-
worse, Nancy.
Okay, maybe I'm using the
Who
wrong
are you, my
word.
dad?
But like I wouldn't be mad unless it was someone doing it with ill intent. Like if someone were like, "Hey, do you want to know a secret?"
Like
But-
when Sheila's book got released on those like pirating websites when she gave out arcs.
That makes
Did
me
you
so
hear
that
mad.
happened.
I hate
that
that
does make me
happened.
so mad. I'm in a few like author groups, and I've had author friends that have been dealing with that, and it's just like,
It's like with indies too, it's like, are you serious?
right?
It's for one thing, it's like $11 a month, Kindle Unlimited, or it's like $4 on Kindle. Like it's really, you can't spend $4 seriously to read a book that you want to read.
It's
Sorry.
also hard because there's like some people who are very casual readers who like don't put two and two together because they're not thinking critically about like the way that we are, and we're also like a part of author community, so we're probably thinking more about it than the average person. But like there's also people who don't think about it and they're like, oh, I can just get it for free from here. They don't like consider the fact that that's stolen.
That's a good,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
And I'm not defending like certain the people who put those things up on pirating sites, they deserve to go to jail. But
Yeah.
the people who really like genuinely don't know any better, I think they can be educated and can do better in the future.
Yeah, they definitely
true.
can. There was a group on Instagram I was in, and I got in a semi-heated discussion about that with
I remember
someone
that.
in that group, and they ended up leaving the conversation like, "Oh, okay, I didn't realize how bad it was. I'll stop using those sites then."
Good.
So, like, they definitely can be educated on that, but it can be a hard like topic to approach. Maybe that's just me because I just get pissed off when I hear about people using it. I'm like, but and so it's like it can be hard for me to approach it more delicately and like actually get the point across. But like when you do it right, if it's someone who's just reading them on those sites, not the person uploading them, they're usually reasonable about it. I am taking my sweet time reading Forever Rain because I don't want to leave this world. Like I took forever to start it because I'm like, this is the last book and I won't be able to read these these characters for the first time ever again. So I just got to part 2 like was it this morning or last night? I think it was this morning. So I'm sitting at 23% on that. I'm loving it like I expected to. But I'm taking my time, but also getting anxious about the fact that it releases in a week and a half, and I am a quarter of the way through it. But and then I also started listening to Legendary, the second book in the Caraval series today, because I needed some background noise while I was not background noise, but I needed an audiobook while I was cleaning. So I picked that up today as well.
I'm so excited for you to read Forever Rain, but you have to finish it before we schedule our interview with Vanessa because otherwise you
I definitely will. I'll
"We're gonna
finish
kick
it
you
before
out."
release date.
We're gonna kick you out. Yeah, we don't want to spoil things for you, Nancy.
Yeah, we'll kick you out of the spoiler part of the conversation.
You're like, all right, we're done with the first section now. Now we're moving on to spoilers. Nancy, get out of here.
I can't
No,
even
I'll have it done by
differentiate.
now.
Okay. Okay.
I'm reading the Book of Azrael by Nicole, I think.
Ooh.
That's her name, right? Next, now I have to go look. Amber V. Nicole. Okay. It is so much fun. I'm having a great time. I mentioned earlier that my favorite trope is enemies to lovers, and they are enemies. Like, have you guys read it?
No, but I really want to. It's been on my TBR forever.
Oh my god, they're
Is it like real enemies? Like I love a real for real enemies to lovers.
like he tortures her in one scene. Like
Ooh.
we're real enemies to lovers. It is so good. It is so much fun. I'm having like the best time. And her third book comes out next month. So
Ooh. Oh, wait. So the second one's not out yet?
the second one is out. The third one comes out.
Oh, the third one. Oh my god. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Rumor has it the second ends on a cliffy. So
Ooh. Well,
You had good timing then.
yeah. Well, sure. I've owned her books for about a year, but then I got not quite a year actually. I've owned them probably for about 6 or 7 months, and then I got very caught up in Coven reads. I have not picked up a book that wasn't by one of the Coven authors since probably November, except for Bride, literally except for Bride. Oh well, I reread a bunch of SKM books, but that doesn't count. Those are rereads. Doesn't count.
they count on your monthly reads though.
They do. I powered through. Let's see, Frost and Starlight, Silver Flames, Tower of Dawn, Empire of Storms, Kingdom of Ash,
Oh my god.
Crescent City 1, Crescent City 2, and Crescent
Oh
City
my
3.
god,
Between
Harley.
Thanksgiving and Crescent City 3's release. I read Crescent City 3 the day it came out.
Crescent City 3, I was actually looking at it today because I'm packing and I was like, holy crap, this is a huge book.
I've not seen a physical copy of it. I don't know. I'm waiting for it to come out in paperback. Nancy, have you read Crescent City
She's
3?
thick.
I haven't. I have only read ACOTAR, like that series. I am way behind on those as well.
Wait, you haven't read Flight of Flat?
I haven't. I own all of them, so I have no excuse.
God.
Nancy.
I know.
Nancy, we're gonna do a companion podcast called Read Throne of Glass with Nancy. It's gonna be-
Yes. Yes.
Are y'all gonna do
We're
a
gonna do-
reread while I do it?
I will.
I will. Only if you start with the Assassin's Blade.
All right.
Oh my god, I forgot.
Harley, I know you didn't read it. I know you didn't read it. So you have
didn't
to
read
start with it
Assassin's
this
Blade?
time.
No, I didn't read it. I will start with it the next time I do a read through. I have not reread the first two books. I start the two rereads. Well, actually, I start with Queen of Shadows because that's my favorite, and then I just go through the end.
That's fair. That's super fair.
Yeah, that's still a lot
Yeah.
of books.
Oh yeah. I'm currently reading Pretty Little Savage by Lucy Smoke. It's part of the Sick Boys books. It's a dark romance. I'm really in my dark romance era right now. It's also enemies to lovers. I just had a moment. That's the part I'm at right now. I'm like 60% through. They had a moment on his motorcycle. It was really hot. And I have no idea what I'm going to read after that. I'm like probably going to finish this weekend.
I know what
Right.
you're reading after that.
Oh my god, am I going to read the one you're reading?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did. No, you know what? As soon as you said it, I literally downloaded it onto my Kindle, so it's there. She's ready. She's ready to be read next.
I've got 6 arcs sitting in my email waiting, so I'm gonna finish this one. I'm gonna read Throne of the Broken Gods. I'm gonna cry about it a lot, and then I'm gonna start tackling my arc list. So I've got a lot in there.
I would like to talk about one arc that I finished recently by Alexis L. Menard.
Finished it.
I finished it. Oh yeah. Oh my god, that's right. You have it too.
I
City of Mirth and Malice. It's the second book in her
What was the
series.
first one?
House of
I'm
Bane
s-
and Blood is the first one.
yeah, House of Bane and Blood is the first one. It's so
I haven't read it.
fun.
I haven't read it yet.
It's so fun. A lot happens, obviously. I don't know how to not give spoilers. It's a really good time. We get a lot of character development. We learn a lot of very shocking things.
Okay.
And I can't wait for you to read it so that we can yell together because I've had no one to yell with yet about this book. And the whole time I was just yelling at my pets and they were looking at me like I was a crazy person. But it's a really good time. I saw on her Instagram too, she said, I thought this was a duology, but she said she's not done writing about this world yet. And
Ooh.
I won't say it ends on a cliffy because it doesn't, but it is open. Like I think I
Okay.
could see her either continuing with Nico and Mila still as the two main characters, but I could also see her having different main characters and continuing in this world. So I wonder what she's gonna do.
That's so exciting. I'm even more excited now to read it because yeah, I've got House of Bane and Blood sitting on my Kindle waiting to be read before I do the arc.
Please yell about it with me. I love that series. It's so
For
good.
sure. I will. Do you have anything you're super excited to start reading, Nancy?
Well, all of the Coven authors that I haven't gotten to yet, for one thing. I'm definitely excited to, at some point, start Throne of Glass. Let's see, what else am I excited about? Oh, those books that I ordered, like, last week when I was venting in Tay's Discord arrived today, and I'm excited to start that. The first one's called The Gospel of Loki, which I didn't even read the blurb when I ordered it, but I did when I got it. And it definitely sounds like it's going to be a really fun time. It's in first person from Loki's point of view. And I'm like, they're shorter than I thought it would be. The first one's less than 300 pages, so it's going to be a quick read, and like, it sounds entertaining. I opened the first book, just flipped through it, and there's a list of the characters in the book, which I don't think I've really seen before in a novel, but I was reading through that, and Loki's personality is evident just in the character descriptions. So that definitely wasn't something I was expecting. So I'm excited to dive into that one at some point. I've definitely been taking it with my how fast I read things, because life has been lifing, and I'm trying to write a whole book. I'm trying to finish the first draft this year and get it sent off to my editor before the end of the year. So definitely a lot on my plate, so I'm trying to not pressure myself to feel the need to read super fast, because that'll make it less fun.
That's a lot of our other author friends have also said, I've been too busy writing, I haven't even had a chance to catch up on my friends' books. I'm excited for them and I'm glad they're doing really well, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet.
The FOMO definitely hits hard sometimes, but I'm like, it's okay. You, as much as I'd love to just sit and read full time, I can't, because I got to make money to keep buying books.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a balance. And then there's the time when your brain is just crapped out and you can't read or write, and you just need to, let your brain melt for a bit.
For sure. I had that happen after I finished a book called Under Darkened Skies, or it's Under the Darkened Sky by H.E. Bauman. And after I read that, I was like, I need to give my brain a little bit of a break. I've just been I read that and a book called Celestial and Bride, all back to back in 4 days. My just my brain was fried. It needed some time.
I read 17 books in March.
Holy
And
shit.
Okay.
I read 2.
It was okay. It one I have a problem. I want to put that out there first. 2,
Okay, we
they
all
were
do.
it was a lot of hockey romance and dark romance, and so it wasn't a ton of world building. So my brain really didn't have to do a lot of work in that sense. It was like we're on this planet Earth and like just these are people. So it was it's like it was easy to just like fly through them. But after that I was like, "Oh, I need to look at something else for a little while, like maybe watch a TV show or something." So I feel that.
Last year was when I really got back into reading, and I read, I think, exactly 75 books last year. And a big chunk of that was I managed to get into audiobooks in the summer for one thing, and I also did a bunch of rereads of some of my childhood favorites just because it had been so long. So like I did a reread of the Percy Jackson universe really because of the show coming in that December, and those were really easy reads. Like some of the audiobooks I got through them in a day. So that was definitely like I was reading some shorter books last year, and so far this year it is pretty much mid-April and I have read 9 books. So
But you're also writing a book.
I am
So
also writing a book, so
there's that.
definitely, yeah. That definitely takes away from my reading time a little bit, but
No, I realized this year, like last year I read, I think close to 125 books, and I don't do audiobooks, so it was almost all ebooks. But a lot of them were shorter. So I was getting back into reading, so a lot of it was first in the series. But now I'm reading like third and fourth books in a series, and they're thick. Like there's so much jammed into these books. Okay, so we're gonna transition to the next segment, which we're gonna call Author Corner, and we're gonna talk about our friend Phoebe Lacey, who we also call Bessie, and she has a book coming out. By the time this releases, the book will be out. It's called Forever Rain. It is the second in a duology, but to avoid spoilers, we're going to talk a little. Well, I'm going to read y'all the blurb for Long Live, which is the first book. Long Live is the Elementals of Iona book number 1. It was released last year in August. It is a fantasy romance. It is fantastic. I love it. It's one of my favorite books. Forever Rain is one of my most favorite books. And here's the blurb. Isla Belfair lives an ordinary life in her small village of Locker. Since losing both her mother and the man she loved 2 years ago, all she wants is stability and peace. But her world is forever changed when her family is attacked on a journey away from home, and she must travel to the Adiran mountain range to find them. Across the realm, 4 ancient beings who control the elements of nature are awakening. After a civil war that tore the humans apart, the elementals entered a 1,000-year slumber. Now they're being summoned to prevent a dark force that is greedy for power and threatening to overturn the balance of nature. When Isla's path crosses with one of these elementals, she finds her fate is more entangled with theirs than she ever imagined. As she risks it all to follow the elementals on their journey to defeat the unknown foe, she discovers that not everything will be as it seems. Isla is torn between protecting her loved ones and following her heart down a dangerous path of power and magic, of truth and lies. What will they sacrifice to stop the coming storm?
I think one great thing to like point out about Bessie's series is that it is closed door, because I know there are a group of people who don't like open door romance, like they'd prefer to like not read the spicy scenes in books. So that's something that's I think important to know. And then like part 2 for the people that do like spicy scenes that want an open door romance, I genuinely forgot that this book is closed door. Like there's so much tension. She does it so well in a way where I was like, wait, you said that there's no spice in your book? Like I completely forgot, because the plot is amazing, obviously, and the character development is top tier, but also just the
yeah.
scenes where we have like love interests together is so filled with tension. I'm like, oh, this is good. This scratches the itch that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and we're gonna talk to her about her decision to write a closed door adult fantasy because
Right.
I don't see a lot of that going on. And make no mistake, this is absolutely an adult fantasy. Like, this is not a YA book, but
Mhm.
it's closed door, and I thought that decision was a really interesting one. So I'm really excited to have that conversation with her.
Definitely.
I mean, I would say, like, just to add on to the Long Live Forever Rain talk, Long Live is definitely one of my favorite books I've read this year, of my 9. But no, it's definitely one of my favorite books. Like, I remember just being... I'm trying to think about how to say it without being spoilery. But when I finished the book, I was like, thank God that the arcs for Forever Rain come out in like less than a week, because I don't know how I'm gonna move on to something else. And then, but yeah, it's so good, and her writing style is so, I want to say, poetic. Like, the way she describes things is phenomenal.
So we need to talk to her about that too, because she told me that she like can't visualize like stuff in her brain when she's writing.
She can't what?
What?
It's like whatever it is, when you like are reading, you don't have the movie playing in your head. You just like read the words. So I feel that way about her writing too, that it is like very poetic. It paints a beautiful, stunning picture. Like, it's very descriptive. So I'm really interested in that
Tay
as well.
said
Like,
the same thing, actually.
who did?
Tay. Like, she doesn't picture stuff, because when I was reading Threaded, I commented on, like, how poetic her writing style is. She's like, y'all, I don't see, like, pictures in my head when I'm writing. And I think she said it's, like, kind of, there's a scale to it. Like, some people see a full-on movie, and then there's some people who just see words on a page. But I think most people are somewhere in the middle. But yeah, it's definitely interesting, like, to hear that, especially for people who write the books. But I think for me, like, Vanessa's descriptions, like, of what you see and the, like, physical stuff is really good, but even more so the way she describes emotions is, like, that's what really, really gets me. And, like, personally, I really like character-driven things, and so the, like, internal thoughts and their emotions, and going really in depth to that, is what really stands out to me.
Yeah, I think even though we have like No Spice, it's closed door, we get such descriptive emotional intimacy that you don't realize that you're not watching these really intimate scenes play out on the page. Do you guys have any last thoughts as we say goodbye for tonight?
Are we gonna talk about tropes?
Oh, so
Are
yeah,
we
we
not
are.
Oh my
doing
god, I
that?
totally forgot about that. It's written down.
Tropes, favorite tropes.
Yes, we all love an enemies to lovers, it sounds
True.
like.
Yeah, we do.
When
What's your
it's
favorite
actual
enemy?
enemies to lovers, to clarify.
What's your I like anything that's a similar whatever to lovers, like
Yeah, I
thrive-
enjoy it when it's similar. I just am peeved when I'm told it's enemies to lovers and they're not threatening to kill each other.
What's your favorite enemies to lovers book?
I'm inclined to say the Cruel Prince, or the Folk of the Air series.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I
I
was
need to read it.
You do. But, like, that one, the romance in that series, there's not a lot. Like, it is not a fantasy romance. It's political fantasy with the romance subplot, but it is like the enemies to lovers in that is so good. I buddy read that series last year, and I'm so glad I did because I had someone I could scream about it with.
I feel like with the enemy, so like the romantic subplot on that, you have to. There's a lot of reading between the lines. Like it is not an overt romantic subplot until like the third book.
It kind of works
Oh.
in the second book. There's definitely hints at it. Like you get
Yeah.
breadcrumbs in the first book.
Yes.
But also this really is, I don't think this is really a spoiler. If you're writing someone's name down over and over and over again, filling the page with their name, either you're insane or you're in love with them. So
I would just like to put out there for Carden, it could be either. He's a little not right.
He's definitely a little not right in the head.
He's also like an 18-year-old boy, so
yeah. That series is insane. There were times when it felt like a fever dream. But
that is okay.
In a good way.
I feel like all of Holly Black's books kind of feel like a little bit of a fever dream. So I read The Book of Night, which is her first adult fantasy series.
Still need to read that one.
And it's very good. It also feels like a little bit of a fever dream, honestly.
Maybe that's just her writing style is fever dream.
It is. I think it is. And she paints a very, very vivid world in all of her books.
Yeah. I have on my Bookstagram, I have reels that I made with like screenshots of me and my friend's buddy read. For anyone who hasn't read the series, don't go find those because there are spoilers, but it was chaotic.
You know, the other enemies to lovers that I just adore with my whole entire heart is M's book in The Dagger and the Forbidden Air. It is like a delightful. It's not like a slow burn enemies to lovers. Like it's a pretty quick transition, but they definitely almost kill each other, at least once.
Oh yeah.
I feel it was just that book was just a lot of fun. It was so fun.
Would threaded be enemies to lovers, or is it more like?
It's more hate to love. Tay says no.
Tay says no. It is hate to love. Hate to love. That is the description. Okay.
She's been very adamant
I like a hate to love
not
too.
advertising it as enemies to lovers for like
That's
what I brought up regarding books being advertised as enemies to lovers and then you picking it up and it's like it's not though. So
here's the thing. He thought they were enemies to lovers, but she didn't.
I think being able to describe books as enemies to lovers really depends on the like point of view you're into, because a lot of these stories, it's like the female main character hates him and thinks that they're enemies, but he's already fallen for her in some of like a decent amount of them.
I adore that particular trope where like she's like, I hate him, he's the worst, blah blah blah, and he's over there like staring at her with hearts in his eyeballs.
Yeah, like if you swapped POVs for the book, it could no longer be described as enemies to lovers.
That's how I feel about Threaded. Like I think if we'd just gotten Adrian's point of view, it would have been classified as enemies to lovers. But because we have Mariah's, we're like, oh, she was down bad from like the first time they met.
That's a good point. Like they both have to be each other's enemy. It can't be like one-sided.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if this would necessarily be an enemies to lovers. I think have you read The North Queen? Harley, I feel like you were the one. No, you weren't the one I was talking to about that. Well, The North Queen has like it is technically enemies to lovers. She kind of loses her memory a little bit, but she knows that they're supposed to be enemies. And this isn't really a spoiler because it happens pretty soon into the book. but there's like forced proximity, arranged marriage happening. And
I love
so
an arranged marriage.
it's really fun. It's a really fun series by Nicola Taiki. I hope that's how you say her
Oh
last
yeah,
name.
I think it's I don't know.
Taik. But I think they get to lovers fairly quickly. Like I said, like this is definitely not a spoiler because we find out in the beginning of the book like she's lost her memory. And so they are political enemies. They have a history of being enemies, but because of like some things that happen, they end up in an arranged marriage of some type, and they end up being lovers, and it's really cute. And there's a hint of why choose energy. She has this best friend, and it gives Rainer vibes from The Lost God by Sheila Masterson, where he's just always around. So you're kind of the whole series, you're kind of wondering, like, okay, what is she gonna do? Is she gonna stay with this man that she marries, or is she gonna leave him at some point and then go back to her best friend?
I want to scream about the Lost God. We're not going to do that today. We will have another episode where we scream about the Lost God before
Yes.
the last book comes out. But
Yes.
my God,
I think I talk about it like every day to somebody.
I think about it every day. Not a day goes by that I don't think about. Honestly, Xander.
Oh, baby Xander, I'll take him home. I'll make him happy.
Do you have a least favorite trope?
Oh, miscommunication.
I think for me it's that, or I don't know, like the cheating trope, quote unquote. I don't know if it's still used commonly enough to be a trope, but those two for me.
For me, it's look, I don't love miscommunication. If it's done well, I can handle it. Like Nicole does a really good job in the Curse of Ophelia books with her miscommunication trope. She does an incredible job, right? So it doesn't bother me there, for example. I like it. I love the way that's the way the plot goes. However, my real life is full of miscommunication constantly all the time. I don't necessarily like want it in the books that I'm reading, unless it's done really, really well. I hate, and this is like really popular to bitch about on Threads right now. I swear I'm not just hopping on a bandwagon. I hate unexpected pregnancy tropes. It's one thing if somebody is like trying and they really, really want a baby and then they get pregnant and they're excited. That's fine. I'm all for that. I don't mind it as a plot line, but I don't read contemporary romance where it is actually tends to be the most prevalent. But I hate surprise pregnancy as a trope, and it's literally PTSD from Twilight.
I see.
That's a spoiler. If you haven't read the Twilight Saga, that's a spoiler.
No, that I remember reading that when I was like in high school or whenever Twilight came out, and I was like, what the hell?
We can say
I was
fuck
like,
on the show.
we say
Wait, we
fuck?
said
Okay,
in
yeah,
our
I was like,
intro.
what the fuck? Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? She's literally what, like 18 at most? I think she was only like 17 actually.
She was night.
And oh, it doesn't even
Yeah,
matter. It was not okay.
no. And here's the other thing: if even just like one time, I'm gonna go on a rant about the Twilight for a few minutes. Even if just like one time, the author had mentioned previously that she wanted a kid, but she was like very disinterested in having kids. She really just only wanted to like be with her vampire boyfriend for like the rest of her immortal life. She had expressed no desire at all for children, and then surprised she was pregnant.
Yeah,
Absolutely not. That makes you want to throw up.
I hate even more. Okay, accidental pregnancy, and they've only had sex once. I'm like,
That's unrealistic.
that's statistically, that's kind of an anomaly. That's
Yeah.
strange. I know it happens, but no fucking way.
And she didn't even have to be pregnant. You just decided that.
Right, right. I hate when it happens in the middle of a series too, and I'm like, what are you gonna do with this baby now? I know there's like a few books left. Where's this baby gonna go during the war? Tell me that.
Oh my God. I DNF'd an arc that I was reading because this big huge deal was made in the first few chapters about how this like adoptive child was this main character's like whole life, like broke out of prison specifically to take him with her. And
Mhm.
then the whole time they're at like the safe house recovering, he's like sleeping for like 4 days and she doesn't check on him once.
Oh.
She just takes everyone's word for it that he's fine.
What?
It particularly bothers me when it's inconsistent with like previously established character traits. Like if they're not longing for a child or something like that, I count me the fuck out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that makes sense. Especially if it just feels extremely forced. Like it's just there to cause drama. Like I can definitely get that. I think I would say there's probably examples out there that handle that well. But it's most likely in the contemporary romance.
Yeah. I can think of two. I can think of two fantasy examples, and one of them is highly contested. But two fantasy examples where they were like actively trying, it was not a surprise, and they were very excited. And then besides that, it's all been a surprise.
Is one of them Akatar?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's odd how she got pregnant very quickly, but yeah, at least it was like we, as the reader, we got that information where it's like she was like, okay, I want to start, like let's start our family or
Yeah,
whatever.
as long as you don't skip a Court of Frost and Starlight, you know that they're trying.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
people who skip Frost and Starlight and they're like, that's out of character. She didn't want that. You skipped a book.
Well, yeah, what?
But yeah, so one of them is Ektar, and I just read it off the same thing as Nate's, right? The cauldron, the universe, whatever, wants powerful Fae to continue. So then therefore it is easier for the powerful Fae to get pregnant. Like think about like
Oh.
the autumn the Dancera family, right? They have like 8 fucking kids. And it's the same thing with like mates. I
Yeah.
think all of the powerful Fae in the series are mated
Yeah.
because they want the procreation from powerful Fae. So like I think under like the quote unquote like regular Fae, that like the not the
Not the high
royalty.
fae.
Yeah. Well, even like the other high fae individuals that aren't the ruling families.
Mhm.
But we see like powerful Illyrians made, right? Powerful
Mhm.
other like leaders of like whatever the races are, the different types of fairies, mated. It just seems to, but they're only like a very small percentage of all of the fae in the world. That's my own headcanon. That's the only thing that like makes sense to me. So that's what I've assumed from like day one. And that's never been disproven, so that's what I'm going with.
Also, okay, I'm gonna try to not say too much because Nancy hasn't read CC yet, but what we know about the Illyrians could also impact like their fertility. So perhaps that's why also she was able to get pregnant a little faster. Also, maybe she's technically biologically human in a sense, even though she is Fae. So I think a combination of all those things could have just led to an easier reproduction than the regular Fae.
Yeah, I think that too. And I think we'll probably be exploring that idea more in future books because I think with my whole heart and soul, I think we're getting another Nesta book. I think Agathar 6 is going to be another Nesta book.
Oh,
So I think we'll be exploring that a little bit more with Nesta and Cassian.
that'd be fun. I can't wait for the next Akatar.
Me neither.
Do we have any other, I guess, favorite tropes that we want to share?
I love a good. Okay, actually, yes, because I didn't think I was a Friends to Lovers fan, but I love it. Like, I didn't think that it was for me. I thought it was like too soft because I like
Mhm.
people to be because I like my men to be a little mean, right? But it
Agreed.
turns out I like it and it's real cute.
It's
Knew
so
that I
sweet.
liked
I'm
that,
exactly the same way.
but like me and my boyfriend are that trope. So that's why I knew I liked it, but I read it more in contemporary romance than I do in like I haven't read much fantasy romance that has that trope, but
Nancy, you want to know the stupidest shit? Josiah and I were friends for like 3 years or 4 years before we started dating. But I think again, Nicole sets it up really well because in Curse, like we get right from the very get-go, that very first relationship that we get
Mhm.
established, Malachi and
Mhm.
Ophelia, they're childhood friends to lovers. And so I think she
Yeah.
just like starts the series off like without like revealing any spoilers about any other relationships that happen later. Right from the very get-go, we are set up to a friends to lovers. We're already in the lovers, we get lots of flashbacks to the friends. She did a beautiful job, in her book single-handedly convinced me that I was a fan of friends to lovers.
I'm excited for that one.
Which ones have you yet to read, Nancy?
I've literally only read Threaded and Long Live and working on Forever Rain. That's it.
Oh, you're in for such a treat.
I
You have so
know.
many.
I have so many, and I'm excited, but also the fact that they keep making more. Like, I keep falling further behind.
You're never gonna get into the cabana, Nancy.
I won't.
Yeah, I'm
sad.
sorry, Nancy.
I just need
Hey,
to. I need to do what you did, Harley, and take a cruise and just binge them all.
So I actually have a confession to make. I did not binge them on the cruise. I read Blood and Steel on the cruise, and that was it.
Honestly, that would probably I'd probably only knock out like one if it were me too. So I'm
All I had when I left to go on the cruise, all I had left was Helen's book.
okay.
So
oh,
That's fair.
yeah, so I read Blood and Steel, and then I read House of Flame and Shadow, and then I literally, when I got back, I read Thousand Ruins, and that was all that was out. Fate and Furies,
okay.
Fate and Furies hadn't come out yet, and that was the first, I think, of the new releases that came out. So I was like, I literally made it in like the day before Fate and Furies.
At least Nancy, Penn series has audiobooks. Spark of the Everflame has an audiobook, and Glow has an audiobook. Heat
Heat's
is coming.
I need to
I
get
think
those. I don't have Audible, but I need to get those and utilize that. Helen's books have audiobooks too. I love, a good romance book, but if it has found family and it doesn't have romance, I'll be fine personally. Like that is even more important to me, I think. Which is kind of funny because I as of right now don't know that trope will appear in my book. But it is my favorite to read about, like whenever you get to the like the this is my family line, I tear up every time.
I don't know that you can have a super, super good, specifically fantasy book without a found family in it. Like I have not read a single one where it's just like the main character and like her love interest and like nobody else, except I can think of maybe one, but I think even that one would be much better with a found family in it.
So, like with my book, the reason I'm like I don't know if it'll technically have that is the most prominent characters are I mentioned my main characters' names. The most prominent characters in it are obviously Loki and Sigyn are the main characters, and then like Loki's family. But in a sense, it's kind of found family at the same time, even though he knows them as his family. So I don't know. I guess I'll figure that out when I'm more deeper into the story and thinking more heavily on like what tropes are in it. I'm not writing to have certain tropes in it, but as I'm like planning things, I'm jotting down like maybe this trope is gonna be like one I use. And then after I write something, I'm like, okay, well this trope is definitely in it now. But
Well, I think the found family trope can include members of your biological family.
and like I'm trying to think about if it's a spoiler or not, so I don't spoil my own book. No, it's not a spoiler because it's in the prologue. But Loki is adopted in my book. I was like, what's a spoiler and what's not? I'm writing this book. But
in like the common mythology, he's adopted too, right? That's a normal.
in the common mythology, he's not adopted. There's a little bit of a debate on his relationship to the other gods. There's some accounts that say he's Odin's brother, which is weird to me. And there's other accounts that say he's his quote unquote blood brother, which from my very basic understanding is just a ritual, and Loki's kind of just there. But like he's not actually most accounts agree that he's not actually related to the gods. But he's not adopted in most like mythology accounts. Obviously, you have the Marvel's take on it where he is, but I decided to go a similar route with that, partially because I cannot see him being Thor's uncle. That is weird to me. Like, even reading books about the mythology, I'm like, no, they give brother energy.
Oh my gosh, actually, not to just jump off onto a Marvel tangent, but
I'm always down for that.
Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth have incredible brother
They
chemistry.
do.
They do.
Like, they cast that perfectly.
I love watching the blooper scenes. It's so cute.
Me too. I'll like
Okay.
sometimes if I just need a bit of a just something my spirits is they are adorable.
You know what movie has unparalleled bloopers? And I wish we saw more of this in the movies, but it's the Toy Story movies.
Oh my god, yes.
Specifically the first two. I can't believe they just animated bloopers for fun.
I love that they do that.
I think Pixar did that with a lot of their movies too. Like the old ones.
Unparalleled comedy.
It is.
Do you have an all-time fave, Drew, or is it Enemies, etc. to lovers?
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I really don't keep track of tropes. Often, like in the process of reading, it's like hard for me sometimes. So I'm sure there's one that I like the most, but I'm not remembering it. But in general, I really like He Falls First. I think it's just because I personally love being loved, even if I'm not in love with the other person. Just to feel good.
That's such a Leo quality.
I was like, can you tell I'm a Leo? So yeah, I love it. I love a He Falls First. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorites. I love the sassy female main character in general. I don't think that's a trope. What about you, Harley?
I think I do love a sassy female main character, but that's because like that's also me as a person.
Yeah.
I'm like very sarcastic and not always like nice about it. Like I can be like there have been times where I know like specifically like on Discord people have been like, is this a joke?
I've had that experience today, actually.
With me?
No, like me being the person being asked. I'm sorry, that was not clear.
Oh, I was like, what's it?
No, I'm just saying, like I've had that same issue where people are like, "Are you mad at me?" Because of the way I said something. I'm like, no. Did I sound angry? I'm sorry.
I love when a female main character is just like a badass, knows it, and is unapologetic about it.
Mhm.
Like she knows that she's hot shit, and it doesn't always have to be like necessarily a warrior. In fantasy, typically it is. A good example of a character I actually don't really give a shit about, if I'm being perfectly honest, and this isn't a spoiler because I'm just going to give her name and no additional details, but is a lead from like the Throne of Glass series. develops into someone who like knows what her strengths are and like doesn't give a fuck if anyone else knows. I don't particularly care about her character, which is like really controversial in the fandom, but I don't. But I think she's a good example of that specific trope. She's just not my favorite.
That's fair.
The other example I would give is Bryce Quinlan from Crescent City. Her, who she is and like her attitude, that is my favorite type of female main character. Like her and I are the same. Nancy, I'm excited for you to read it so that way you can just picture me the whole time.
You as a redhead.
You do give Bryce energy, actually, now that I'm thinking about it a lot more.
Thank you. I would like that to be my reputation instead of the one that I currently have.
Well, we can do that. We can make that happen. Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. Follow us on Instagram at Bound and Booked Podcast. My personal Instagram is at UndercoverFaye.
You can find me over at HJK Reads. That's my initials. It's a fun time over there.
And you can find me at Nancy Reads and Writes on Instagram as well.
Thanks for reading with us, motherfuckers. Bye.
Bye.
I am